Meantime, less than a week from today, the Baseball Hall of Fame will announce its class of 2022. And fair to say, I think we all agree with this, right? There's never been a more controversial pool of candidates for Cooperstown. So starting today on SportsCenter, a 6-part series produced by Outside the Lines, Enshrine or Decline. We're going to count down to the announcement Tuesday with segments every single day.
I love it.
On the most prominent candidates, and I see one right there.
Yeah, we're going to look back at their careers. We'll assess the controversies, because there are some that are shaping the Hall of Fame debate. Today, we start with Alex Rodriguez, who is in his first year of eligibility and who also happens to be an ESPN baseball analyst. Here's Jeremy Schaap.
Sage, Matt, on the field, it was all there. Every tool you could think of, Alex Rodriguez had it. A once-in-an-era type hitter with power and speed and gold glove ability at shortstop. He was the single player of his generation most clearly destined, it seemed, for greatness and for the Hall of Fame. But on what might have been a simple path from sensation to superstar to Cooperstown, A-Rod veered off course repeatedly. And now, when we consider his career, instead of preparing his plaque in baseball's pantheon, we are in a far different place.
Schilling strikes him out.
Alex Rodriguez.
There isn't anybody as good as him in the majors, I don't think. Potentially, sure, there's guys that play better now, but I think his skills are equal to or better.
Number 500 for Alex Rodriguez. The youngest man ever to get to 600 home runs. Track, wall, see ya. He did it in style.
There's some numbers that you just sit there and marvel at.
Una carrera que debió estar compitiendo para igualar a Mariano Rivera con el 100% de aprobación, y tenemos a un jugador que va a tener que lidiar con votaciones del 50% muy lejos.
There's so many things that enter into it. My main concerns for him are probably off the field, which is a possible threat in professional baseball.
Seattle.
He was the first pick in the 1993 baseball draft. And since day one, greatness was expected from Alex Rodriguez.
El chico perfecto, perfecto para vendérselo a Estados Unidos, para vendérselo a República Dominicana, para vendérselo a América Latina.
Way back, upper deck, Alex Rodriguez.
In his first full season, Rodriguez hit .358 to win the batting title. He was just 21. From that season on in Seattle, he would average 37 home runs per season. Then,
the Rangers and Alex Rodriguez will officially announce his signing with Texas. 10 years, $252 million, making him by far the highest paid player in the history of team sports.
Gold gloves in Texas, 50 homer seasons in Texas. He was on his way to potentially surpassing Honus Wagner as the greatest shortstop of all time. Then, of course, he became a third baseman next to Derek Jeter.
Wow. I still feel like someone's going to pinch me and wake me up. Opportunity to be a New York Yankee.
Rodriguez won 2 of his 3 MVP awards in New York. But in the postseason, he was mostly a different player, which helped make him something less than a fan favorite in the Bronx.
I don't think people could find the authenticity that they were looking for. And then obviously when you add the drugs to it, it becomes almost fatal.
ESPN confirmed Rodriguez tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs back in 2003.
When I arrived in Texas, I felt an enormous amount of pressure. I was young, I was stupid, I was naive, and I wanted to prove I was worth being one of the greatest players of all time.
The Yankees are back on top.
Following his admission, Rodriguez led the Yankees through the 2009 postseason to win his only World Series ring. 4 years later, Rodriguez was again in trouble for PEDs.
A-Rod has been suspended for 162 games for his involvement in the biogenesis scandal.
This is my whole life, my legacy. I'm part of history. So if you're going to try to destroy all of that, I'm saying no. You tell me why I should serve 1 inning.
He sued baseball,
Sued the team doctor.
sued his own Players Association.
That put the lid on Alex Rodriguez's career, where people looked at him and said, it's going to be very difficult to vote for him for the Hall of Fame.
This man hit 696 home runs, and we're not talking about him being a slam dunk. And that's what this whole conversation is about. These Rushmores of the game who have complicated the game in such a way that it becomes a debate.
And for more, we are joined now by ESPN senior writer Buster Olney. Buster, this is Alex Rodriguez's first year on the ballot. You need 75% of the vote, about 300 writers to vote for you. Where does A-Rod stand right now?
And Jeremy, I should start by saying I worked with Alex Rodriguez on Sunday Night Baseball the last 4 years. I really enjoyed working with him, and I consider him to be a friend. He has no chance of getting in this year. If you look at the data that's been compiled by Ryan Thibodeau so far about the early votes that have been cast, he's polling even lower than where Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds were in their first year of eligibility. It's very clear that there's a block of voters, about a third, who will never consider a player they believe linked to PEDs. And on top of that, Alex was suspended after baseball put in its rules and punishments against PED use in 2006. And I think a lot of voters essentially apply a second demerit for that.
Buster, why would any writer vote for a player who repeatedly broke the rules?
Well, first off, context, I think, is really important. If you look at the broader context of how many players are actually using PEDs within the sport. And the second factor, and I've wondered as time has gone on if the writers would consider this, look, Alex Rodriguez is considered to be a member good standing by Major League Baseball. He was suspended. He served his time. He's had an employment agreement with the New York Yankees since retiring. He, of course, works for Fox, for ESPN. That's in stark contrast to what happened with Pete Rose.
But as you said, nobody thinks he has a chance of getting in this year. 10 years is a long time. That's how long you stay on the writer's ballot these days. If Bonds and Clemens don't get in this year in their 10th year, is there any reason to believe that Alex will ever be voted in by the writers?
No, I don't think so, because let's face it, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, two of the all-time great players in baseball history, and it looks like neither of them will get in this year. It looks like neither one of them will even come close to being inducted in their 10 years. And so once that precedent is set, I think unless there's a radical change with the rules, Alex will not be voted in by the writers.
You know him well. You've worked with him. You covered him for a long time. What do you think the Hall of Fame means to Alex Rodriguez?
I think it has deep meaning for him because Alex loves baseball. He loves baseball history. A lot of players you speak with, they don't know about who a Babe Ruth is, who a Mickey Mantle is. Alex knows all about those players. He knows about their greatness. He has context. And that's why I think eventually, if he does get in, and I believe that he will, as context is applied by these special committees, that it's going to be a meaningful day for him.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.